Christians and the law that was sent to Jesus. And then he said, and a law was sent to you. Right? But if we look up Sharia, law is in creation. And the whole creation is governed by law. You have the law of gravity. And whether or not you would admit gravity is a law, you cannot disrespect the law of gravity. If you climb to the top of this building and said, I don't care, there's no law of gravity, and jump off the building, you would have a rude awakening to the reality of the law of gravity when you hit the ground, right? Yeah. And if you're blessed by God, you're going to live, but most times you're not going to make it. Well, that's a law, and we can't change the fact that that law exists. Well, God has given law. But what happens is people confuse what's called fiqh with Sharia. Yeah. Okay. And when men were struggling to apply the logic of the Quran to their reality, they made legislated law. They legislated law for their reality. But what happened over time is people took those legislated laws to be divine laws, as if they were divinely inspired, without the possibility of fallibility or without the possibility of needing to be changed. And this is what became known as Sharia, or Sharia law. Right? And there's nothing wrong when you go study it. Those men were doing the best they could to apply the law to the reality that they faced. But Imam Muhammad wrote Sharia law for America. You say, where's his book? 35 years of lectures. And he told us how to apply Islam to America. That's right. And he was qualified in Scripture, both Quran and the Bible, and qualified as a product of the American reality. Uniquely qualified to tell you and I what our laws should be as we govern our life as Muslims in America. Yes. So then you get these people who picked up a book, probably written by Michael Savage. I don't know if you all know Michael Savage. I listened to the guy from Florida. He sounds like he's a Michael Savage protege. And all the arguments he was making about Charles Martel and the Battle of the Tours. Well, we don't have time to do it today. Well, but we can have a discussion on Charles Martel. Yeah. And I don't know if you want to claim Charles Martel as your hero, if you really get to know him and his history, and at times his quite brutal history. Okay, so I'm listening to a guy from Florida. Islam is not a religion; it's a political entity. And we're not going to be baited into a juvenile argument. Imam Muhammad said, indefinition is direction. If we let them define the conversation, the argument will be petty. Because you and I would say, well, what about manifest destiny? Well, when the Christians came to America, they had a concept called manifest destiny. And they thought it was their destiny to take the West, the whole West, that America belonged to them. So then we can argue Christianity is really not a religion, but it's a political system. We play right to their hand. That's right. Because we let them define the conversation. Indefinite, simple statement by Imam Muhammad, but profound. Indefinition is direction. You and I have to define the conversation. You and I have to define Sharia. You and I have to frame the dialogue for Islam in America, especially when it pertains to our community. Because if we let other people do it, then we have to play by the definitions they set up. So you have people debating on Sharia and banning Sharia. Well, Sharia says be a kind neighbor. So you want to ban that? Sharia tells you to be a good husband. So am I banned in Tennessee from being a good husband? Sharia tells me to respect those in authority. That's right. So am I banned in Tennessee from respecting the police? Am I banned in Tennessee from respecting the mayor and the governor and the city officials and everyone else? Am I banned from this? Sharia tells me to give to the poor. that mean I cannot give in charity? I cannot uplift my fellow human being? So you really have toddlers using words they don't understand, reacting out of fear.
Yes.
And in many instances, it's a fear of the morality and the moral consciousness that a society influenced by the Quran and life example of the Prophet will bring. So we have to define the conversation based on the logic of the Quran, the life example of Muhammad the Prophet, and 35 years of wisdom given to us as tools to get to the Quran and life example of Muhammad the Prophet, and establish our life upon the model of Medina that Imam Muhammad gave us for over 35 years. Peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum.
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. Thank you, Imam Wazir. I'd like to mention something to you. I forgot to mention at the beginning. Imam Qasim Ahmed was supposed to be on the panel also, and he's ill and he wasn't able to make it, so he called me to apologize. But those of us who know Qasim, you know, he'll be back again. And one of the brothers told him from Houston that he was talking to when he was talking about coming. He said, Brother Imam, if you're sick, you need to stay home because, you know, we don't believe in blood sacrifices, you know. So we have to take care of ourselves to be able to do this. Before we get into our questions, and if you have your questions, Imam Wali, can you get the cards from him? One of the things I want to mention is that one of the things that we did with the American Coalition of Good Government is that we put ourselves in a position to educate ourselves. And when the issue about Sharia came up, what we wanted to do was to make sure that we knew how to address it, and we would not be baited into situations that we couldn't handle. And so Imam Qasim Ahmed, he was gracious enough to give us a class, and he gave it to all the regional coordinators of the Coalition of Good Government. But I had a conversation with him prior to that, and one of the things he said was that what they are trying to do, whoever they are, they're trying to put their definition on what it is. And we have to be very, very careful when we address those issues that Imam Wazir said, because they'll trap us and they'll try to get us in those type of situations. You know, I was speaking with someone and they were talking about, they brought up about flogging. And they said, well, you know, that's public humiliation. And I said, well, what do you call putting someone on paper for the rest of their life and they can't get a job, they can't get an apartment? Isn't that public humiliation? And so we have to just put ourselves in a situation to deal with it. So what we like to do is to open up for questions, and if anybody has a question on the card, you can pass it forward, and we'll deal with that. If not, if you have a question, just ask from the audience, since it's kind of closed right now. Yes, sir. Imam.
Assalamu alaikum. I wanted to know if Coalition for Good Government is moving towards developing a list of all of the elected officials that are in our association, as well as the appointed officials that are in our association.
That is a goal, and one of the things that we need is we definitely need support to do that. You know, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot by saying this, but if you'd like to get with us and work on that, you know, we can deal with that. You know, we can deal with it, and that's something that we need to know is who our officials are. I know we have a large number of brothers, I shouldn't say brothers, a large number of individuals on the East Coast that are holding offices, you know, and some of them are young brothers, you know, they're younger than me, I'll put it that way, and they're holding those positions. So that's something that we definitely need to do to find out who our officials are. And I believe you were the journal, one of the recent journalists with one of the brothers that was in office. Was that a picture of you? With
two brothers that were in office, Judge Shahid and Judge Hassan Al-Abin. We happened to be in the governor's, at the governor of Maryland hosted an iftar, so we were guests there. But I've always been interested in finding out how, and then publishing that so that our people in our association can see how we have evolved, as Imam Wazir has just said.
Yes.
How we've evolved from elected, appointed officials, and those brothers and sisters, this is very important, I think, that have been appointed to commissions, like on the Park Board, Human Relations Commissions in the counties and the cities, as well as the state.